Sir, I'll begin by asking you if you could briefly explain Argentina's position on the Malvinas sovereignty dispute, and how does Argentina view international law and UN resolutions regarding this Malvinas issues?
No, of course. As you know, we have a dispute for these islands because these territories that belong to Argentina have been occupied by the British forces for almost 200 years. Those territories were part of the Spanish Empire, which we inherited from Spain when we became independent in 1816. But then they were occupied illegally by the United Kingdom in 1833, almost 200 years ago, and Argentina has all this time been requesting the international community for the response on this issue. That's why it's so important this year, because it marks the 60th anniversary of a resolution that was the first time that the UN General Assembly addressed in this issue and called the parts to become to find a diplomatic way to solve this problem.
Mm-hmm. So how do you view India's stance on this issue?
Well, India's role was very important because at that time we are talking about the 60s, in which, you know, in the 50s and in the 60s, when India became independent, in the early stage of its independent life, India became a voice of the process of decolonization in Asia, in Africa, and in some parts of South America also. So that's why it was very important, this resolution, and the India support at that time. That's why we are doing this seminar in ORF, with ORF, in order to commemorate that resolution and to call on the attention of the international community and here in India for the continuation of this request and for to find, as I was telling you, a peaceful and diplomatic solution to this problem that is absolutely impossible to understand that 200 years later we're still having this situation in which they are occupying those territories.
Mm-hmm. Talking about India-Argentina relationship now, the year is coming to an end almost. How do you look at the current relationship between the two countries, and how, according to you, it has been in terms of output in various sectors?
Well, this year was very positive in the bilateral relationship. Consider that this year the Prime Minister of India, Virendra Modi, went to Argentina. It was the first time in almost 6 decades of our Prime Minister of India going to Argentina for bilateral talks. So we consider that a milestone in the relationship. There was a very good summit with the President Milei. And as you know, Argentina, India has become the 6th largest partner for Argentina, trade partner. So it's a very important relationship. Currently, Argentina is providing, we are number 1 provider of soybean oil, we are number 3 in sunflower oil. So we are providing to food security here in India, and there are many other areas of cooperation in mining, for example, in which we are working very good.
And in 2026, how do you see the relationship moving forward, and in which sectors?
I think it will continue growing since India is becoming a more and more important country in the world. India has become the 4th largest economy, or going to become the 3rd soon, at the end of the decade. So it is going to be more important for us and I think for almost all countries in the world. In case of Argentina, we hope we can continue the cooperation in food security, we can expand to energy security, and we can expand in mining, as you are already investing in Argentina, in lithium, for example, in some provinces or states in the north of Argentina. So I think it could be a positive year, as it was this year. So, you know, Argentina and India have been enjoying 75 years of friendship, of relationship. But in the last 6 years, we elevated the status of the relationship to strategic partnership. And that was the goals that were established. I think they were met because we became a $5 billion trade relationship, which for Argentina is an important number. So I think that we are working good in the last years, and I hope we can continue with that.
How do you see the defense relationship between the two countries?
Defense is good. There were many exchanges this year. There were Indian soldiers going to the Aconcagua in the Andes. They climbed there. And then we had in July here a group of Argentine soldiers climbing the Himalayas. That was wonderful, great experience. I had the opportunity to talked to them before they climbed and then when they came back here to Delhi. And it was something that gave a lot of satisfaction and joy to the Argentine people. Even the President Milei tweeted that as a huge achievement for the Argentine forces. So we are very happy in that sense, and they are continuing growing this relationship. There is very positive, for example, that there is a defense attaché that has been appointed in your embassy, in Indian embassy in Buenos Aires. We have a defense attaché here for some years, but now India will have one in Argentina. I think those things are very positive.
So Argentina also has large lithium reserves, and during the Prime Minister Modi's visit to Argentina, there was discussion on energy cooperation also. What will you say on that?
Well, currently Indian companies are working there in the north of Argentina, in some states, in some provinces. And as you were mentioning, Argentina has one of the most important reserves of lithium in the world, among other countries in the region. And I think as India is growing so much and is developing these EV and other developments programs, and you are trying not to be so dependent in one single country on these issues, so I think it is very positive for the two sides, for the mutual benefit, to work on that, and we are sure that they are going to continue working in that field.
So how does Argentina support India's presidency at the United Nations Security Council?
Well, we can say this. When the UN was created in 1945, 8 decades ago, the UN Security Council at that time reflect the type of world order that emerged from the Second World War, and that was reasonable at that time. But 8 decades had passed. 80 years is a lot of time, and world order is always evolving. No? So at the current situation, it is obvious that the UN Security Council doesn't represent exactly the type of world order we're having now. There are some large countries with huge populations that are not represented there. So I think India's aspiration is understandable, and we think it's correct. At the same time, I can say that although the UN needs reform, I won't say that will be done next week or next year, because this takes a lot of time. It requires a level of consensus in the international community that today you cannot observe. Unfortunately, maybe we change, but it is not. The world today is having a lot of problems of understanding, minimum understandings among the great powers. So it is difficult to imagine that it will be possible to reform that. But I think the aspiration is reasonable. As you know, Argentina is promoting the Ambassador Rafael Grossi from the Atomic Energy Agency as the candidate for the UN Secretary General for next year. So we think it's a great candidate that we are having, and he has a lot of experience in this area and knows perfectly well the need to reform the organization. But that's what I can tell you. The UN is the result of what members do with itself. No? It's not good or bad. These organizations are the result of what member states do with the organization. And although there is a consensus that sometimes they became there is a lot of bureaucracy in these international organizations, they have to be reformed, and I think it's a goal that it has to be accomplished as soon as possible.
So, India will be hosting the AI summit next year. Will there be any participation?
I hope that there will be participation from Argentina. I cannot confirm you now exactly, but I hope there will be. And we are expecting some other visits that we are not confirmed. You know that this time of the year, at the end of the year, close to Christmas, and we had Christmas, and now we are going to have the New Year. In my part of the world, we're a Christian country, and then we have holidays this summer there, so things are not able to be confirmed now, but I hope in the early stage of the new year we can confirm those visits.
So just last question, in case you would like to answer, there are two ongoing wars between the two, Israel-Gaza and Russia-Ukraine. The Ukrainian president met Trump a short while ago, and Israeli president is going to meet President Trump later today. How do you look at the current situation between all these countries, and it has been more than 2 years and 4 years to the war? What is Argentina?
Well, Argentina obviously wants peace, of course, regarding those conflicts. Unfortunately, those conflicts are not new, are very old. In the case of the first one you were mentioning, Argentina has been a strong supporter of the State of Israel. It has been, we were among the first to condemn the terror attack that happened in October 7. It's a country I know very well. I was ambassador there some years ago, so we support the Jewish people for the right to exist, and we think that this situation of terrorism on an almost daily basis is unacceptable, and that was happening there for decades, I would say, but especially in this last period. For you, for India, it's something that you know perfectly well. You had a terror attack very recently in April in Kashmir, and we were among the first to support you. And so that's regarding that issue, and I hope there were some positive developments with the auspices of the U.S. administration recently. There was the coming back of some of the hostages. Unfortunately, many of them died. As a matter of fact, I have to mention that among more than 200 people were kidnapped that day in October 7. Among them, 10% of them approximately were Argentine citizens, because in Israel there live a lot of Argentines. So some 21, if I'm not wrong, of them were Argentine Israel citizens. Regarding the Ukraine conflict, of course, it's a very long conflict. It's everyone knows, and we observe positively the efforts of the U.S. administration and other nations to try to set up these efforts of peace. We know that India has been doing the same, and we hope this will be settled. I don't know if this is going to happen soon. We hope we can do it, but not much more than I can tell.